Hamilton has gotten a ton of hype recently. There have been so many people that have moved here over the last few years. But today we're going to talk about the other side of the story. What's driving all of those people out, including locals. And this video is incredibly important because before you pack up and move, you need to know what life is really like here. In this video, I'll break down the 5 biggest complaints people have about living in Hamilton and why they're especially important to young families and first-time buyers. And make sure you stick around until the last point because it's incredibly important, is impacting people's everyday life and costing them thousands of dollars. And this is especially important to people who are new to Hamilton. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike. I'm a local realtor here in the GTA, and my goal on this channel and in this video is to show you both the good and the bad. This is not to bash the city in any way, shape, or form, but it is to inform you before you make potentially the biggest purchase of your life. Before we get into the first reason why people are leaving Hamilton, it's incredibly important to understand what people mean when they say Hamilton, because in 2001, the city of Hamilton, the old Hamilton, the Hamilton that usually people are referring to, actually merged with 5 other municipalities. Those were Ancaster, Dundas, Stony Creek, Flamborough, and Glanbrook. On paper, that's all Hamilton now, but in practice, they are incredibly different areas. So when you hear someone say, oh, Hamilton is full of crime, or it is super gritty, they're almost always talking about the reputation of the old city of Hamilton, the lower Hamilton, the areas around downtown and closer to the industrial base. Places like Ancaster or Stony Creek or even up on Hamilton Mountain have very different vibes. You will find much quieter streets, newer homes, different demographics. It's all completely different, so it's really important to understand what we're talking about when we say Hamilton. That's why a lot of the negatives that we're about to go over aren't going to apply to all of Hamilton equally. But they're still worth knowing about, especially if you're going to make the move to Hamilton for affordability, then these trade-offs are what you're most likely going to run into, especially in the parts of Hamilton where first-time homebuyers tend to start their search. While Hamilton is safer than some major cities, it does rank behind neighboring areas like Halton or Peel when it comes to crime statistics. Certain pockets, especially near the downtown core, have higher crime rates and more visible social issues. For young couples or families that are looking for peace of mind, this can definitely be a sticking point. The good news is that things have improved dramatically in those areas, and it looks like it will keep improving over time. And if you're looking outside of the downtown core in any other areas, especially all those other communities that we talked about that are more sort of suburban-like, then the crime rate is really not something to worry about at all. Hamilton is still definitely more affordable than Toronto or Oakville, for example, but that affordability is starting to come with some trade-offs. Gentrification is pushing prices up fast, especially in walkable areas or where major transit is going in. Downtown construction and rising prices are also displacing long-time renters and a lot of small businesses. And for first-time homebuyers, especially young families or young couples planning to have families, they're just not thrilled with the reputation of schools. So that trade-off of affordability is coming with schools in catchment areas that are ranked below the provincial average. They want something that is going to be ranked higher, have a better reputation. Then they're looking at areas into Stony Creek or into Ancaster or into Dundas, areas that just don't have the same level of affordability as certain pockets of Hamilton. If you're commuting or using public transit, Hamilton can definitely be a challenge at times. There are tons of traffic bottlenecks when you're trying to get around Hamilton or out of Hamilton, especially the QEW 403 merge, getting over the Skyway Bridge that connects Hamilton to the rest of the GTA, the link at times when it comes to construction or improvement updates. Like, it can be a nightmare trying to get in and around the city at times. You also have the Sherman access. This brings you up and down the mountain. This might be one of the most confusing roads you will drive in all of Ontario. Not only that, in certain sections, it's only one-way traffic in both morning and evening rush hour. And while the Hamilton bus system exists, it's definitely less frequent and less extensive than you might find in some other major cities. Walkability also varies a lot by neighborhood, and the one-way traffic flow of downtown can be especially dangerous for both pedestrians and cyclists. Hamilton's downtown is definitely still in transition, and even though it is much improved from past decades, there are tons of cool cool restaurants, music venues, art venues, tons of cool little neighborhoods, it still feels a little gritty and definitely underdeveloped. For people expecting a sort of mini Toronto, it can be a little jarring, especially young couples or ones coming from maybe more trendy suburban pockets. The other big issue is the one-way streets that flow through downtown and the timed lights. It ends up looking and feeling like a freeway downtown, and this has definitely not helped with creating a walkable, retail-friendly core like you will find in most major downtowns. Hamilton's industrial past is still very visible in areas closer to the lake like the North End, where steel plants still dominate the skyline. But a much bigger issue for locals and those new to Hamilton is the smell that's coming from wastewater treatment plants or landfills that can drift into these residential areas. In some neighborhoods, especially near the Woodward Avenue wastewater treatment plant, and especially in the Upper Stony Creek area where there is a major landfill, these odors can be pretty unbearable on hot and humid days. For people who are not from Hamilton or Stony Creek, they purchase homes in these areas without knowing about these issues. And for longtime residents, especially in Stony Creek, there were already homes that existed before this landfill came in. The residents of Stony Creek protested and fought the city, but the landfill was still approved. And even though there was a promise to close the landfill, the contract was renewed and new homes continue to be built in this area. Now people feel stuck in these kinds of neighborhoods. They've lost thousands of dollars and the quality of their life is being impacted each and every day. And this especially affects those new to the city because they had no idea that this was going to be an issue for them. Okay, so what's the takeaway here? Well, Hamilton still offers incredible value, but you have to be really clear what you're willing to trade off. The key is choosing your neighborhood intentionally and understanding what life is really like there. And if you're thinking about moving to Hamilton, then it's incredibly important to work with someone who understands the city. If that's you, then let's talk. You can find my contact info in the video description below. I can help you find a home in a neighborhood that fits your lifestyle and budget while avoiding the most common regrets. I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, please just hit the like and subscribe buttons below. It will help other people find this kind of content. And before you go, like I said, on this channel, we look at both sides of the story. So if you want to know the good about Hamilton, what makes it such a desirable place to move, then you're going to want to watch this video next.